about 16 minutes. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Identity Human podcast. And you got your host, Don, and your other host. I don't want to say co-host. I want to make it equal. And Ray.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for coming back to us on another episode. I think it's episode number 36. And tonight, we've got a guest. If you've been on the journey, you would have recognized this person. He was such a legend joining early on when we just needed anyone to support the channel. He was like, I'm your man. So we've got the quad doctor.
The one and only.
The one and only Mr. I'm a beast in anything I do.
BigRed,
Peter Olivier. Pete.
Good evening to you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on to the podcast tonight.
And that laugh gives you an idea of who Pete is.
Inappropriate, but never disrespectful.
Golden rules.
Yeah.
And just to forewarn, is this going to be a PC episode? So if people's children are listening, will there be only decent language?
It will be PC. Occasionally a swear word slips out, and I will apologize straight away.
We'll let you know in the description if there's going to.
No, well, I mean, realistically, our kids, and maybe it's a good place to start. Our kids have heard swear words.
But they know not
to use them. So we said, listen, you can't judge other people for swearing, but you know that in our house we don't swear. And that's perfectly acceptable. So if Pete comes around and a swear word slips out, my kids don't go, and point out, like, you shouldn't swear. We understand that everyone has their own way of talking, and it's not up to us to tell other people what their standards should be.
I think it's...
No. I'm super aware not to swear in front of kids, and then I always do it, and then I'm the first to be like, and then I usually swear again. So, my nieces know, and they tell me off all the time as well.
Oh, that's in good standards.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off so that we don't get too far into the episode, and people are like, okay, well, who's Pete, you know? I didn't mean to say that as that, what the listeners sound like, by the way. That's what I would sound like when I was a listener. So,
to give some context, Pete is Don's best friend.
Yeah.
Been for years. And somehow Pete managed to weasel his way into Don's life.
I lied.
It really did.
That's a story for another time.
Oh no, maybe we should start with where we met.
Yeah, you can. I thought it would be also quite interesting for you two. You've done this amazing sort of title, Pete. I would love you to describe Pete in a sentence or two, Don.
Are you sure? Okay, I'll describe Pete in a sentence or two because I used it in the Best Man speech, and it was one that really sums up. If any of you read the book The Alchemist, Pete is an alchemist where he turns anyone's energy, their vibration, how they feel about themselves from mud, dirt, copper, or steel into gold. That's his secret power. Just with his energy, just with his presence, just with his ability. And we were talking about in the car today, like his ability to actually truly be unapologetically himself. And that is, as a man to man, that's attractive.
I actually feel a bit of a warm buzz happening. I appreciate that.
Sorry.
I like it.
So now, should we briefly take a divergence from the main goal of just giving the audience Pete's vibe to describe how you two met, because it does inform the overall story. So let's take a 2-minute divergence. Do tell us your love story, the beginning of it.
I'll start because I knew about him before he knew about me. So I'll start the story. So I lived in, I suppose we'll talk about this again a little bit later about how I landed up where I am. But I was living in Australia, and I have a friend called Tyrone. Tyrone, and he was working at a school in Cape Town called Bishops, and he was living with Don, and my time in Australia was coming up to an end. I'd studied there 3 years, moving back to Cape Town, and I wanted to play for University of Cape Town, which is the team is known as the Ike Tigers, in a very, very cool competition called the Varsity Cup. I was 22 at the time, and maybe 21 at the time, 22, 21.
I feel like you might have been younger than that.
Yeah, I was, say 3 years.
You've done a degree, haven't you?
Yeah, and I took a gap year, so I think it was 23, let's say 23, give or take. We're 88 babies, so 2011. Whatever. The year of the dragon. And I had a phone call with the coach, and I knew about Don through Tyrone. And
you had never met him?
I'd never met Don, and I needed an in because they were 2 months into pre-season, and I was coming in quite late. And I phoned Kevin Foot, who still to this day has probably, as far as like coaches and teachers, had the biggest impact ever on me. I said, yeah, if you need a reference, just ask my mate Don, who plays for the team, and another guy, Wes Chetty and Marcel Brachy. Those are the other guys I sort of
pretended you knew.
I knew them because they went to Rondebosch, but Don, obviously I knew Don, sort of the vice captain and sort of in and amongst the main group. And and I had to let Tyrone know that I had said Don, and I needed Ty to convince Don that I'm actually a good guy and was good enough at rugby to play. And I think footy then checked on you, and then you could take over.
Did you know this tight head prop or something is coming from Australia? And I was like, yeah, he's a good guy. Bear in mind, I'm as honest as they come, aren't they? Like in a sense, like I was talking to Pete earlier about like red lights. It's like the Matthew McConaughey.
It was a big red light.
And it's
a big red.
Oh, very good. Very good. But it was something where I just had to roll with it. And you know when, I don't know, it's like one of those things where ordinarily I'd be like, I'm not speaking up for someone else I don't know. Like it's very much against what I do. Didn't even question. I was just like, yes, that guy. And yeah. And then I think from then on, unfortunately, Pete's career was skyrocketing before he got an ACL injury, which I was quite a downer, wasn't it? And that was quite a big.
It was, and you know what's such a nice experience for me, and I'm being completely genuine. I wouldn't change it. So if someone said, "Oh, would you go back in time and change the fact that you got an ACL and see how far rugby would have gone?" I wouldn't change a thing, which I'm really grateful for, because you hear a lot of sportsmen looking back and being like, "Oh, what could it have been?" all that sort of stuff.
Because like Don went on to play professional rugby for like over a decade, so.
And it's such a nice, it's sort of quite a relief to truly feel like that, because like that night that I hurt my ACL, we actually spoke about it the other day, Don. And then 2 other guys, the guy we were just talking about, Tyrone and Jubby, Justin, came to sleep over that night that I snapped my ACL. I stopped hearing from a lot of other people, and it just trimmed my friendship group down to the people that really matter. And those guys are still with me today. So like to truly know who your closest, 2 or 3 or 4 friends are is rare these days, especially with social media. So many people are,
there for the good times.
Friends, by design, and there for the good times and all that sort of stuff. But to find true mates is important. So I wouldn't change a thing, which is a relief.
Yeah.
And also the small things that happen after that. I'm now doing what I truly believe I'm made to do. I'm 100% happy, even if I was a billionaire. This is the life I would have right now.
So that's a good segue into tell us, Pete, what do you do?
Yeah. So I'm a director of a company in London called Gymnasium, and we run class-based gyms. We have CrossFit and strength training and HIIT style classes. We've got 3 in London at the moment, with aspirations and plans to open a lot more. We have an amazing team, but the way I got into it was quite cool, because after I hurt my knee, I was watching a UCT game, which I was meant to be playing in a couple of weeks later. I don't know if you know this whole story, but I was watching a game with a guy called Anthony Fenton Wells, and Ant and I were sitting next to each other watching the game, and a guy called James White was sitting next to us, and we all got along super well. The banter was really, really good, and James and I stayed in touch, and then James started a gym in Cape Town called Rourke, and Rourke I joined up with, and it was a men's only gym at the time, and it was just James and another guy called Ross who was coaching there. We all got along super well. I was just coaching the 7 a.m. class part-time, getting paid £1,000 a month, which for those here is about £45 a month when I started.
So
How many 7 a.m. classes a week?
5.
Wow.
5. So I was pretty much paying to coach, but I mean the journey had started.
Started from the bottom.
Yeah.
And now, yeah.
And Chantel and I met when I was earning that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, living at home and
So
earning
she's
that.
not a grave digger.
No, not at all.
No, great, gold digger.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't say grave digger.
So I was thinking
Gold.
monster
She
trucks.
was a grave digger at the one point. And trying to tell the story at the top of my head is I hope I don't leave out any things, but it sort of rolled from there. And James was an amazing guide for me. I took a lot of lessons at Footy and Dave Vessels, our 2 rugby coaches who I spoke about earlier, Kevin Foot And Dave, Kevin Foot is the first time I've been coached by someone who coached the person and the individual rather than the whole team. And when it came to the whole team, it was about becoming a better person as well as a better athlete. And I'm not going to be able to sort of go in enough depth about him and the way he treated me in a good way in the time we have to do the podcast now. But it taught me so much. I was able to take those lessons and install them into the way I coached and treat everyone the way they need to be treated. What is the saying? Treat the CEO and the cleaner the same way. So it taught me so many lessons. It helped me connect. Yeah, it helped me connect with people. And there's so many things I learned over the 5 years of being with Rourke. We opened a women's only gym. We opened up two in Joburg. We opened up 2 in America. So we started with 1. We ended up with 6. Then I got an amazing opportunity from a guy called Jack Heenahan. Jack I met in Salt Lake City in 2015 through a very, very tough week where we went to go train at a very, very aggressive gym in Salt Lake City called Jim Jones with a man called Bobby Maximus, who was awesome. Really
that's insane. If you're not in the gym world, that's essentially like the elite of the elite. That's like the Joe Rogan of podcasts, Bobby Maximus and that gym setup. Who's been to the top of the pops.
Yeah.
It was an incredible experience. It was insane. It was like 2 weeks before Christmas. And Jack and I met there. People from all around the world travelled just to go and train there. I can still remember the smell. It smelled like a
fart.
No, it was weird. It smelled like a horse stable, but not bad.
Maybe because they use those rubber mats.
Horse matting. No, maybe.
Yeah, horse matting.
You're probably right, but it smelled incredible. I can still remember the smell. And we had a crazy, crazy week. And Jack and I connected. And then we stayed in touch. I don't know if you guys know all of this. We stayed in touch over Instagram and all that sort of stuff. And Rourke was steaming along. And then I got an amazing job offer. And by that stage, Ty had moved here. Don had moved here and settled pretty well. I knew Justin had a British passport.
And we'd also, there was no chance of you coming over here.
Zero chance.
Pete was like willing.
Pete manifested. He wanted to. So you were living in South Africa at the time, and I don't think it's actually been said that we were. This all happened in South Africa.
In Cape Town, yeah.
In Cape Town, starting the gyms, and you really wanted to come over to the UK and live here. Not because nothing against Africa, but you just wanted this experience of living in the UK.
Yeah.
And there was no way, no visa route, no option really for that to happen. And you just had that was like your goal.
I appreciate you saying it. Yeah, I handed in my resignation 2 months before finding out if I had a visa because I just trusted the process so much. I keep forgetting that.
What a lesson.
I was jobless for 2 months with no plan B. Nothing, and I just didn't.
Burn the ships.
It was hard, burn the ships. And the worst, I don't know if you guys know this as well.
Go for it.
But Chantal, my wife, has her cousins here and had a couple of friends living here. So she was desperate to get here as well. We got the text message. So when you apply for a visa, for those of you not completely up to date, when you apply for a visa,
you got a work visa.
Yeah. You give your passport to a private company. They send it to the British, what do you call that? Embassy, and then they send it back, and then the private company gives it back to you. But the private company don't know the results, and they can't open the package because it's your package. So you go and fetch this package. Because I got it. So let me rewind one step. I got a message on a Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. Hey, your passport's arrived. Office closes at 3:30 or something like that. I was never going to make it, so I had to go the entire weekend. Knowing that my passport had arrived after months of waiting, my passport had arrived, and I had to wait until the Monday morning 9 a.m. And I promised Chantal that I would find out and then drive straight to her before we told anyone. And I stuck to my promise. So I went, opened up the package, and the only way you find out if you have a visa is literally by flicking through your passport and trying to find
and
the
like
visa.
Hands are shaking.
So you're all over the place. And obviously, once I found mine, I then checked hers, and she had hers as well. And I drove straight to her. We had to get secretly married as well before the visa, so make the whole visa process easier. A lot of people didn't know, but that was pretty amusing at the wedding when we told everyone 7 years later. And then moved. I phoned my I want to call him my mentor. Boss doesn't do the friendship and the relationship justice. Phoned him, let him know, and he's like, cool, I booked a flight for you tomorrow night. And then, funny enough, you guys, I don't think you guys know this as well, but I didn't check the start date of my work visa.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I got here and they were like, this visa is only valid from Friday. And I was like, oh my goodness. And they were like, I don't know what you're going to do. But my holiday visa from July was 6 months. So I got in on my holiday visa. So that's why I could only get paid the first time at the end of January. So I went to Italy for 24 hours or something like that, just to go out and back in
on your work
to get a stamp on my work
Crazy.
visa.
Interesting. So a big journey to get here.
Yeah.
And you've obviously managed to help grow Gymnasium and make it a hugely successful gym in London.
Mhm.
And it continues to expand. So what would be great to know is what has been your greatest lesson in your journey so far?
Ooh, my greatest lesson. It's funny, my experience, and actually we spoke about this the other day, the things I've learned the last 18 months have probably been the most impactful. I've had a rough like last seven months, and the biggest lesson is more. Do you know how, like, they say compartmentalizing? Compartmentalizing is an odd one because it sounds like you're trying to deal with stuff separately or deal with stuff. There's no better word for it, but learning how to not take things on emotionally. So, like, if there's something happening, and I hope I can get this across in the right words, but if someone's going through something and comes to, like, complain to you or, like, use you or,
use you as a sounding board.
Yeah, a sounding board, or there's something going wrong at the gym or in life or with someone, and they come to you. You know, you can feel a little bad for them, and but never take that on, never take that emotion home, and it's tough.
There's people from
anything,
anything, not even at the gym, and like obviously that's the one that affects me the most is if people aren't happy about something at the gym, or if someone leaves that I wasn't expecting them to end their membership, or if someone is struggling in life, separately from the gym, like friends, family, all that sort of stuff. Not taking it on yourself, helping them, supporting them, doing all those things, but disconnecting as much as you can emotionally, but not to a degree where, like, you know, you're unempathetic, all that sort of stuff. So everyone has a lot going on in their lives, and like it's a never-ending journey of being able to help people, but to not take that on emotionally. I don't know if I got that across correctly with words.
I think that for me there's almost like in those examples you gave, there's two distinct scenarios. I get the one that you are saying where if people are having problems in their own lives and they bring it to you because they need that support, not to absorb their energy or their difficulties internally, because you need to kind of, you know, protect your core energy.
100%.
The one other example you gave, just to sort of dip into brief, is if someone leaves the gym that you weren't expected to leave, that feels a bit like a rejection for you.
Yeah.
I think when and I just wanted to touch on that briefly, where clients say, like with my own account practice, have lost clients or have faced rejection, or like recently Don and I, like with trying to grow the digital course, like almost in a sense feeling rejection from not having as many sign-ups as we hoped. I think it's important to distinguish that, because in that instance I think it's also sometimes good to let those emotions go completely through you, experiencing fully for a day or two or however long you need, and then move on from them. So I think in examples you gave, some of them, yes, you need to have barriers up and not take on board other people's issues. But if there's something that happens that does upset you in work, I think sometimes people might just, I don't know, Don, you know what I'm saying? Like people might say, just push those emotions away. Let's just push those emotions away, and then those emotions eventually come out years later.
So it's like sweeping under the carpet.
I think there's a careful balance there, wouldn't you agree? Between sometimes some of those things you're talking about, yes, so other people's emotions, don't take those on. But when events happen, that you don't want to permeate your whole life, like something happens at work. I think there is still a space to let those emotions work their way through you and then move on from them.
Yeah, just don't let those emotions affect the people around you. So like taking things home from work and stuff like that. Like,
so there's a psychological term called displacement. I actually mentioned today to someone I was coaching.
Okay.
And that's exactly what you just mentioned. Is displacement is I'm stressed at work, but I haven't released my stress at work, so I'm going to come home and I'm going to shout at everyone at home. And everyone at home is going to be like, why are we shouting? What's going on? And often that's where you go, what's really wrong with you? So like the kid coming home and absolutely blowing the lid and really misbehaving. And you can either shout at the kid back, or you can say, let's sit down, what's the problem? And if you ask them, you often find they go, so-and-so has been mean to me. But they wouldn't have come home and said so-and-so has been mean. So displacement is when you're taking emotions from one and putting into another.
Yeah.
And there's genuinely a psychological term. So I was also thinking in what Ray was saying and what you were saying is, in your 18-month journey, do you feel like you still feel those emotions, but you work through them a lot quicker?
yeah,
And I think that's high. That's how I
quicker
term
or just
high
avoiding
performance.
them? Is that because actually I think it's amazing that you've identified that. And I would love to know how you practically have stopped yourself taking on other people's issues.
so it's actually really tough. I've got like this when you said like what's the main lesson. There's so many other ones, you know, breath work, visualization, all those sorts of things. Those are tangible, like take home homeworks, pen to paper. There's so many things that help me. Like if I had to give someone, you know, to do these things in the next 24 hours, and they're going to improve your life. You know, there's no magic pill. There kind of actually is, and I've practiced them. So like I will talk about them through the next little section. But like the main lesson, it's tough because it's very hard to put into words. And while you guys were talking, I was trying to think of specific words to put it into practice. But like I don't even need time to get over them anymore. Like again, I'm going to talk about my mentor and friend. Like I went for a coffee with him once and asked him, you know, advice on getting through really tough scenarios and tough situations. And that was actually before this last 18 months, because what I thought I was going through was tough, and I didn't know what was coming. And he's like, "You'll be fine. It's just life experience." And he said it in such a way. That was all he said. It
empowered you, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like, "You'll be fine. It's just life experience." And now every single time I've got a tough scenario, I'm like, "Cool. I need to make the best decisions," because I'm a good guy.
You're a very nice
I'm ethical. Guy. Thank you. I'm not weird. I'm not dodgy. I make the best decisions I can in certain scenarios, and that's all you can kind of do. And then you're just gonna learn from that. And as long as I've become super aware of learning from scenarios, and it's like everything. It's from being early or late to an event. It's from a coach being unhappy because of another coach or another scenario, or a member, or life, or friends, or like everything. Family.
And it's like, what is the lesson in this?
What is
you
this
can
and how,
take.
exactly.
We spoke about before, like it's like saying, it's not taking that victim angle on stuff that happens and like getting stuck in the emotions. It's peeling the skin of the banana. If the banana is the emotion on the outside, you're getting to the core issue and saying, you don't eat the skin of a banana. You peel the emotions away. Don't let the emotions overwhelm you in a situation. Actually focus on what is the lesson in this and how can I improve. Would you?
100%. And the thing is, and the way you said it, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I'm not always going to look for a lesson and all that sort of stuff." It's not about being some sort of like guru or stoic or like really emotional. It's just like, how can I learn from this? And then if I hear the same thing from someone, because fortunately and unfortunately, people are very similar in the world. Like there's a lot of people that are very similar, and it's like, cool, I said those words to this person, and that was the outcome. And then you have that exact same scenario, because your scenarios are going to repeat. The same things are going to happen in your life. And it's like, cool, how do I apply? And then it's about being in the moment and thoughtful enough to slow that conversation down and apply the lessons you've learned and be like, cool, that didn't work. Let's see what happens next time. But that's been my biggest lesson. I really hope, and now that I'm sort of talking out loud,
Yes.
I kind of want to be able to put this in words. So, I'm probably going to go home after this
Pen to
and
paper.
be like, pen to
Go
paper.
to my ex-mind if you want.
And and I'll be like, how do I put the most valuable lesson? Because you know what's funny is, and I used to get annoyed at actors and actresses and people who are famous and successful, and I used to not listen because I was like, they give advice like, oh, money's not everything. Yeah, money's not everything when you have a lot of money. But it's actually not that. Money is not everything, because they have a lot of money and they're still missing out on a whole bunch of stuff. And what was the example I was just giving? Like all these lessons, like family, all that matters, all that sort of stuff, and they're speaking from a place of like actual experience. And it's like, maybe we should listen. Maybe we should listen to that. And like, this is a slight segue, but at the moment I've got I don't know if you can see the bruising if you are watching this on the video, but I hurt my bicep the other day quite badly, and
you tore your bicep tendon off the bone.
Yeah,
so it's quite bad. It's getting an operation on it.
And it's so funny. So like, again, this is a segue, so it's not going to make sense the way I've connected these two, but I'll explain afterwards. But it's like you're always trying to be healthy the whole time, and then every time, you're always trying to be healthy when you're injured or sick, but you never really appreciate when you're healthy.
100%.
And the same thing goes with all these lessons that they're trying to teach us. Is like money doesn't matter, and family all that matters, and all that other stuff. And it's actually maybe they're right, and we do need to slow down and appreciate that, because those are the things that matter.
And a great analogy. Were you going to say something?
No, you go. I like you and flow there.
No, I was going to say a great analogy that's a visual that I've heard said a lot recently that helps is that, like, I know you say people don't always want to take a lesson away from saying, but life is this journey, and it is kind of like you say your mentors, it's like it's just life, it's part of it. There's going to be difficulties, and how do you overcome those? So there is a lesson, and you may not want to always see the lesson, and this is the funny thing. God, the universe, however you want to see it, there's lessons to be learned, and initially you're going to get little pebbles thrown at you. You've heard James Owens about. You've heard pebbles thrown at you. And if you don't take that lesson, then a rock gets thrown at you. If you don't learn the lesson, then a boulder and the same lesson will come to you until you eventually learn that lesson. And you rise above it. So it's almost like the quicker you can recognize that there is a lesson to take from it and actually learn that lesson, the faster you're going to elevate and problem solve and reach new levels.
Yeah, and it's so weird, because I didn't start like taking on those lessons. Are you got a question?
No.
It's so funny, because like, if you are listening to this and this is not resonating with you, then
your ego is getting in the way.
Then you need to slow down and realize how much is going around you every day. Because this is like an everyday thing. This is like when I'm at the shop and I'm interacting with the person behind the till, or if I'm greeting someone on the way out, or if I'm walking across the road because someone looks dodgy, or like when you phone your parents, or
when your kids, when you lose your temper,
all that sort of stuff, and what has led to that. Like, there's lessons like all the time, and you should be aware of them. Like, you should slow things down and become a lot more aware of your surroundings. Like right now, like while you're listening to this podcast, this should be like, oh, okay, I really do.
Why
need to
did I
listen.
just get angry at that person who did something on the road?
What I was going to say earlier is like I take heed in listening to old people.
Yeah.
Because you said earlier that we all, like, as much as we're different, we're very similar. Understand that the old person you say doesn't know what they're talking about is you in 30 years' time. Because they are telling you something that you are needing to learn. And if you don't listen to them, you're going to spend the next 30 years learning those same lessons and end up in that same place going, I wish I'd listened to that old person. Because if you look at the trends of humanity, we all, like, the stuff that I read that's mind-blowing in terms of like wisdom and mentality, someone wrote in 1901.
I know.
And I find a book and I'm like, I've just spent 10 years or 15 years or 5 years reading this and going, I found out something new. 1901, someone wrote about the concept.
I thought I read it 3 years ago.
And that's the thing, is like, if you can listen to the lesson and then go, I'm still going to try and experience it because I still have this barrier, you will learn that lesson quicker because you're looking out for it, as opposed to going, they're wrong, I'm going to do it differently. Because then you're going to do it differently and go, oh no, I'm going to keep going, and you're going to take 10 years to learn a lesson.
But there's also an interesting side point. How do you identify when an older person or someone has a lesson to teach you versus a glass ceiling that they're putting in place, a limitation? Because my biggest lesson in the past 12 months that has just blown my mind is glass ceilings that some of the most loved ones close to me have put up that they don't even realize they're putting up, that I've had to smash. And it's been a huge emotional thing for me. breaking through these glass ceilings that people who genuinely only have my best interest in their hearts have put up, and I've realized that if I can break through those, it's a whole new level. But that's just the divergence that I wanted to add at this point, is don't just take the wisdom of, think that those people around you who've experienced it have wisdom. You have to, there's also an energy within inside of you to identify, is this wisdom? But that's what I liked your thing where you said, let's play with that concept and learn that lesson for myself with their knowledge in mind. And that maybe gives you the opportunity to identify, is that truly knowledge and a lesson I can take? Or is that a glass ceiling or limiting belief?
Maybe to tie it into your, like, the pebble, the rock, the stone, the boulder.
Yeah.
If you listen to the lesson, then when the pebble comes, aka the lesson, you're already aware that it's a pebble, and you're not just getting hit in the face and going, that's sore, and I keep going. So because you're aware of the lesson, when it comes, you learn from it then, not learn from it when the planet hits you.
But if it's a limiting belief, it could also play out in that exact same. Like, so say for example, a limiting belief, a big one, and I'll be vulnerable here and say it at the moment, that I'm still working through, is this idea that husband and wives shouldn't be running a business together.
I'm third wheeling hard.
And so is that a piece of wisdom that husband and wife shouldn't be in business together? Or is that a glass ceiling? And for example, a big glass ceiling that I've just been like, well, nonsense, doesn't exist, is that you can't have it all to a degree that where you can. People always have this thing where you can't have a family, a lot of kids,
and
have a young family, and have a successful business, and not work crazy hours, and have time for yourself. And we've managed to get that, whereas a lot of people told us it was not possible. So that was like a glass ceiling that I was happily, I'm like, I'm going to put them on, I'm going to smash through it. So it's just interesting. It's the same way.
So which ones do you accept and which ones do you not accept? So
I would
but
we could explore that another time.
I like that. I'm going to write that down on my X mind. Pete, you were saying that you've got a couple of
we would love to hear from you.
So I want to quickly, I do want to pick up on 2 points here you guys spoke about. One thing as like a perfect example of when you realize that all of our lives are actually super, super similar. They're not exactly the same, 100%, but a lot of the things we learn is like, if you speak to like a 15, 16-year-old and they're like at school and they think they're so cool and they think that their jokes, they're telling them for the first time and they're like, you guys didn't tell those jokes. I'm like, I really did.
Those are the exact same
and I remember saying as a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old to 36 to 40-year-olds, like, oh no, you guys, it wasn't the same thing you guys were at school. It really was. It really was exactly the same. All the jokes that I hear, all the kids saying these days, I'm like, we've told all those jokes, we're exactly the same. Like, we're all going through things. Yeah.
Like Jim Carrey.
Yeah. There was another point that I don't think I'm going to remember it, but it was something got to do with the glass.
Do you have any thoughts on how you could identify when there's a lesson to be learned from, because you brought that up, from like actors or those who are ahead of us who've experienced it? How could someone identify whether that's a lesson that's worth learning and then holding as a good belief versus a limiting belief or a glass ceiling?
Woo! It's so.
What about the way they say it? So if someone goes, you won't be able to run a business with family, or someone goes, oh, it's a challenge, so it's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
But you might be able to do it.
As far as identifying a lesson or a glass ceiling, I don't know how to identify it from maybe just the tone that
we'll probably chat around it on another.
Do you think it comes down to how you receive it?
I was going to say,
because it's your example.
Like an energy, it's how it feels. It's
what
like
you accept.
Above the line, below the line. Is it like, does it feel like a loving statement versus not like love at its core essence is like a positive growth feeling.
Yeah.
So does it feel like it's coming from a place of love or from a place of limitation? It's definitely something worth exploring in more detail. But because we've done very much, it would be great to move on to yours and talk more about some of your lessons. We got stuck on that one lesson that you learned.
That's fine. Do you know why we got stuck on it? Because I couldn't actually find the right words. In other words, don't take people's emotions on. There we go. That's full stop. And live your own life. 3 lessons. Number 1, and the most valuable one, I'll go in order, is to learn how to scale. So like scaling a workout, that's where it sort of came to sort of fruition for me, was like, you take a workout and that we coach, and you can make it easier or harder for yourself by changing the weight, changing the movement, all that sort of stuff. If you have to change the stimulus, in other words, if I'm pushing a weight from here to above my head, for example, and I've got a sore shoulder, that pushing movement, I still want to try and replicate that. So maybe I push forward, or maybe I push down, stay away from the injury I have. If I've got a sore wrist, maybe it's on my elbows or whatever. So you can scale for injury, or you can scale for intensity. Now, why can't you just apply that to a life as well? So in other words, simple things, let's use training as an example for yourself. If you want to get into training, you make it easier in the beginning, you make it harder later on. If you want to take on a business in small chunks, make things slightly easier for yourself. If you want to get into meditation, meditate for 10 seconds, then 20 seconds, then 30 seconds. So scale things. But everything, like if you want to get into journaling, and you don't like immediately go and journal for 10 minutes a day. You won't do it. It won't become a habit. Do it for 1 minute. It'll naturally become more than 1 minute. But scale everything. Scale the energy you give away, the love you give, the love you receive, everything, until you sort of make those things habits, and the things that are meant to be in your life, and that you might need to push through 1 or 2 bad days or barriers of not wanting to do certain things, but scale and understand what scale means. That's number 1.
I was going to say on that element there, using scale to develop others, so like from a leadership point of view.
100%, yeah. So you mean when you
Understand
you've got
other
2
people's
coaches that
scales.
come in,
yeah.
or 2 kids that come in, or 2 employees that come in.
Yeah.
If you don't understand scale, you think that they should be able to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But understanding scale means you know that person needs more developing, so you start them at a different space.
100%.
And even though they think it's unfair, you explain, no, this is how it's meant to be, just trust me on this process.
Yeah. But you need to understand that scale comes into life with everything. When it comes into life with your nutrition, all that sort of stuff, don't try and turn over a leaf one day to the next. You won't create a habit.
100%. You see it all the time when people try to make this huge change.
Yeah.
And unless they've had a huge life event to match that, like, it's not going to happen if you need to have that
100%.
Scale relative to your level of motivation.
Yeah,
maybe.
Scale your spending, scale your holidays, scale everything. And remember, scale can be up and down. So don't forget that. You can scale things up if you're coping. So don't think of scaling as always holding yourself back, as it could be the complete opposite.
The process is knowing your scale.
Exactly, knowing your scale.
Yeah.
Second one is make sure you do start journaling or writing things down. Now that is the way to do this is the way I found it started working. You need to find what works for you. Everyone has different things. So the example in this room, Don uses an app called Xmind, Ray uses Excel and post-it sheets. I use pen to paper, and I use text messages to my wife, Sean. So my text message, my mom uses, if you save your own number into your phone and WhatsApp yourself, it will say you are WhatsApping yourself at the top of the screen.
Yeah,
and my mom uses WhatsApp notes to keep note of yourself. So like whatever resonates and makes it easy for you, but you have to write things down. Like if right now you're listening to this and you're not writing things down in some format, you're missing out. Life's going to zoom past. You're going to miss out opportunities and rhythms. Now, rhythms is also another thing. Is when you find a rhythm in your life, and it's like, on a Thursday morning at 9 a.m. I've always got high energy, because you realize that Wednesday nights, for some reason, you've got an earlier start and you get a better night's sleep on a Wednesday. This is a very basic example, but there'll be rhythms in your life where you've got better or worse energy, and you can try and create patterns, and patterns will increase your life and increase the amount you get through, because you recognize the pattern that resonates with your body. And then, so scale, write things down, and the third one is just 1 minute a day. So add 1 minute to everything you do. Add 1 minute to everything you do. So what that does is it paces your day out. It makes you do everything just a little bit better. If you're doing an Excel sheet, you might just check it for 1 more minute, you might spot a mistake. If you're doing some breath work, add an extra minute. But literally 1 minute, not
consecutive days.
No.
So you don't want to do like 5 minutes breath work and then the next day 6 and then the next day 7.
No.
It's just
just 1 minute extra on every single thing you do.
Not rushing through life.
Don't rush. Don't rush through life, but do everything. So if you're cycling to work, just get onto your bicycle, think about the path that you're going, all that sort of stuff. Just add 1 minute onto everything.
So I mean I have to add 1 minute to an ice bar.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be exactly 1 minute.
I like it.
But just slow your world down. The whole world at the moment, social media, all these I don't know what gens we're on to, Gen Z, Y, all those sorts of things is instant gratification, all that sort of stuff.
So maybe not
Speed.
1 more minute of doom scrolling.
No more doom scrolling stuff. Use the 1 minute from positive things. I want to do just a quick little experiment as well, just a quick little thing which I finish off all my classes with, and it's just 1 minute of visualization. I'm going to take Ray and Don through this as well. It's very, very fun, and I want you to join me as well. So I'll close my eyes as well, I'll join, but I want you to just close your eyes. This is literally just 1 minute. Now, all I want you to do is I want you to become aware of your heart rate. So you might be able to feel it in your neck, you might be able to hear it, you might be able to feel it in your stomach. Just become aware of your heart rate. Now, all you're thinking about right now, if you're doing this correctly, is your heart rate. If I said, get into the zone and don't think about anything else around you, immediately what your mind does is you start thinking about things around you. So don't think that as a weakness, think of that as a strength, because that's what you're using now to focus on your heart rate. Now try to slow that heart rate down by adding 1 second to the breath in and 2 seconds to your breath out. Nice and quiet. Now become aware of your heart rate again and bring your heart rate down. Now I want you to picture the next hour of your day. Immediately your brain will jump ahead. I want you to rewind and think about where you're sitting right now or where you're standing. How do you stand up? Do you push off your legs? If you're on the floor, do you stand up to the left, to the right? Are you standing already? Are you walking left and right foot? Now, how do you optimize the next hour? Have you drunk enough water? Have you just trained and you need a protein shake? Do you need to get to bed a little bit earlier? Remember, in my world, optimize doesn't mean fit in as much as you can. It means do whatever you need to do to get the most out of your next hour of your day. Now picture that hour and that feeling. When you think of the right thing, everyone's going to be different. When you think about the right things to do for the next hour, you'll get a little warm buzz, a little bit of a warm feedback from your heart, which makes you a little bit happy. Now let that feeling run into the rest of your day. So now picture the rest of your day. And now picture the rest of your week, the rest of the month, the rest of the year. And now imagine doing this every single day. Imagine the knock-on effect. Imagine the cumulative effect this has. Take a big deep breath in and hold. And out. Slowly open your eyes and become aware of the world around you again. It's a really cool feeling. And I finish that off every class. I have 60 people lying down, dead quiet, completely bought in. It's like the most powerful thing, and you just end up having the best day ever.
Awesome.
Do that every single day.
Can we do it in the morning too?
Yeah, it's a cool feeling, eh? And when
Yeah.
you open
You
your
do it
eyes,
with the kids.
Yeah.
when you open your eyes, you like sometimes if you do it right and you go deep, you like almost semi-surprised about what's around you, even though you've been sitting there the whole time. So it's quite cool. So obviously I coach like 400 to 500 people a week. It's quite a cool thing to take them all through.
Where'd you learn that one from?
Myself, doing it myself.
Nice.
So my own experience of like I need to slow things down. Like I had a lot on this one day a while ago. Like how do I? Okay, there's actually too much for me to do today. How do you eat an elephant?
One thing.
One thing at a time.
It's
One
such a
bite.
hustle culture, and actually I saw something the other day. I couldn't even tell you where I saw it or heard it, but it was on social media somewhere, and they said that the most successful people that they're seeing around them are those people that are slowing down, not speeding up.
Mm.
And it's so difficult to say that, because when you're growing a business or studying towards something, or starting your career, you feel the need to squeeze everything in. How do you get your exercise, your time with family, your career, and everything going? And I think it's maybe just embracing that there's seasons to really push hard, but at the core of it, what you should be always coming back to is the slowing down.
But you can also be consistent and like what can you be consistently slow at, and then build the speed above that, and then break down to that same consistency. Because I think people are scared to slow down because they stop, and once they stop, they're like, oh, I can't get started again. So often people, when they go on holiday, they're like, oh, I'm going to get back into the groove. So, for example, like it's like cold showers, ice baths, and press ups as a bare minimum you do every day. But then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you scale up your gym and you speed it up. And if you decide to take next week off from gym, that's fine. You still got those bare minimums. Because I think people are scared of losing momentum. But actually, the momentum is kept by those small, scalable things that you can scale up, scale down, but not stop. Because I think that's where sometimes people hear slow down, they think stop. But actually, slow down means work an hour less. Work an hour, like add 1 minute less to the work you're doing, and just see if that helps you take a breath and, yeah, I don't know.
How would living in London and training all the people who are in London, where it's much like it's a buzzing place, everyone's got these driven lives, how would you say people can still achieve their goals where they know that they have to maybe hustle a bit, but they also know that it's so important to slow down?
You know, I've just thought of one. You can, if you, even though this is the end of the podcast now, or approaching the end, we're probably going to tell people to zoom right to the end to this last sentence. Because I've just thought of like the way we all talk, because we all kind of have slightly different opinions, and but also like all building to the same point, I guess, is just become aware. Become aware of like how you feel and why. Become aware of your results. Become aware of other people. Become aware of that there's life lessons, like everything. So become aware and don't just autopilot through the day. You shouldn't get to the end of the day and be like, just I don't remember what I did this morning. Like become aware, but it needs to be like all the time. All the time, just become aware of how you feel, how you approach things, of other people's emotions, work, future, everything. So that's what I would do in London, is just become aware of everything, and things that affect you negatively, positively, and just always stay towards the green light.
Yeah, I like that. Become aware.
Become aware. Namaste.
Namaste.
Well, I suppose Pete said we're coming to the end there, which we are. We tried to keep it to 30 minutes, but it's now way over.
30 to 45 is good.
Yeah, I really like it, as long as you guys are engaged. So, any last words, Ray or Pete?
No, that's all I need.
Thanks, Pete, for coming on.
No problem.
We've loved having you.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah, for those of you that always tune in, remember we're going to sign up the same way we always do. I'll look after me for you, and you look after you for me. Ubuntu, we are who we are through. We are who we are. Through others. Yeah, why don't I'm in a mind like that?
Say it again.
Yeah, we are who we are through others. Ubuntu. We appreciate you. We're very grateful for you listening. If you think that this was a helpful episode, share it around. Get someone else on board. We're on a journey, and the sooner you grow, you join that journey, the more it's going to be satisfying when you get to the other side of it, and you're like, I was with them at episode 35, episode 15, where they didn't know how to edit, and Don was doing that stupid whistle for the intro.
So hit the follow button. Please leave a review. We really, really appreciate it, because it helps us to get our kind of message out there.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks,
Guys, that was awesome.
Cool, eh?
Makes me also think.